Well, I'm here with Dr. Brian May of Queen, and we are less than an hour away from the kickoff
Blast off, yes,
of the
Baltimore.
U.S. tour, first ever We Will Rock
Yep.
You. It has been long in the making. How's it feel right now?
It's amazing, and we just had a run through here, which was spectacular. This is the all-American We Will Rock You, which is a dream that we've had for many years. It's all set to go all around North America. Baltimore is a great jumping-off point because we love it here. Ben's been here a month working on this show, so it's not like we rubber stamp a show. I mean, I think 6.5 million people have seen this show in Britain, where it's still running after 11 years, and around the world. But this show is specially tailored for the USA. You know, it has special USA things in it, which are a little different from Britain.
And stripped of Briticisms, I saw.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, people, I mean, we get a lot of Americans through the Dominion in London, and they love it, they get it, of course, you know, but if you're in the States, then the show should sit in the States, it should feel like it's an American show, and I think this does. You know, I'm maybe not qualified to judge, but a lot of care has been put in to try and make sure that you feel like you're in the flow of history of rock and roll in the States rather than Britain. There are subtle differences, you know. You had Elvis, we had the Beatles, but you know, hopefully we both had both of those, you know. And in a sense, you know, we both had Queen. So,
what is it about it that made you want to get so personally involved with this?
I've always been personally involved, you know, in everything we do. That's the way we are. We've always been precocious boys. We like to have control of everything. And from every single note being argued over in the studio, we have that control, and we always had, you know, to the packaging, to the way it's promoted, to everything. You know, Queen has always been like that. And, you know, I don't know if that makes us control freaks, but it's a kind of perfectionism which is just us, you know, and we don't have Freddie anymore, but we still have the spirit of what Queen is, and the spirit of Queen is very much alive here today, I'd say.
I saw a quote where you said he would love it. What makes you say that?
It's beyond doubt. You know, Freddie was a very dramatic person, you know, he was very kind of... he loved a show, he loved spectacle, he loved emotional interchanges, and he loved the theatre. I really wish he was around to see this, because I know he would love it. And very often I feel like he is there, you know, without wishing to be kind of silly about it. You know, this show has a lot of his spirit in it, and a lot of all of us in it. But we grew up together. We fashioned all these songs together, which I'm very proud of. And Freddie's there every night in some way. I mean, this show does pay a special tribute to Freddie as well, as you probably know. You know, the show isn't biographical. It's not the story of Queen. You know, like the Jersey Boys is the story of how they came to be. No, not at all. This is a story about kids in the future and their dreams, and how they're trying to find themselves and find their individuality, trying to set their spirits free, and they're trying to find out. They're trying to find rock and roll, but they don't know what it is. So that's the story of the thing, you know. And it's a kind of... Ben is very clever. Ben, the author, is a great stand-up comic, apart from anything else. And he's an author, a very prolific author. And he's done a great job on this. Basically, he's made it into kind of Arthurian legend. So these kids are looking for the equivalent of the Holy Grail, or the sword in the stone, the lady in the lake, you know. And in the course of the second act, they managed to find it with the help of the audience. So there's a kind of little trick there, which is very special to We Will Rock You, where the audience do kind of take over the show. So it's special. It's a very interactive experience, this particular show, which we call We Will Rock You.
Now, I found a poorly referenced article that said that you weren't a fan of the musical genre prior to this show. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, there is some truth. Probably more true of Roger than me, who still hates musicals, you know. But I live with an actress, and I became educated along the way. You know, even as a kid, I was aware that West Side Story was something epic and wonderful, you know, but that was probably the only musical that I appreciated in those days. Since then, I've become educated, and you know, you learn humility as you grow older, don't you? You know, I used to think rock and roll was the only thing, and I was, you know, we were the only thing. But yeah, I've seen some great musicals, and I mean, one of them, I thought, one of the great recent musicals is Legally Blonde. You know, and I didn't expect that. I was sort of dragged to it thinking, oh, no, it's a girl thing, you know, it's a chick. But, you know, it's so beautifully written. It's so witty in the music, you know, and the production that I saw in London was just spectacular. So, you know, you find things, and many things like, you know, I guess as a songwriter, I've discovered that there is some great songwriting in musicals. Not always, you know, not all. See, I'm still not a great fan of a lot of the traditional musicals, but something like Carousel, you know, has the most amazing songs with great emotional content, very rock and roll in a sense. So I've become educated. I've become broadened as I got older.
What's it like to have, you talked about having fought over note by note. What's it like to see it portrayed by other people on stage?
It's great because we chose all these people personally. We were here auditioning a few months ago. We personally chose all these actors, all these musicians. I mean, the band is great, I have to tell you. You know, we've worked with pretty much all of these musicians before, and they are top of their league. We have an amazing set of actors, and we ask a lot of the actors, really. We ask them to act. We ask them to be great singers. They have to do a bit of dancing, but they have to also be rock stars, really, and real rock stars. They have to be not like a pale imitation, not like a sort of showbiz version of a rock star. They have to be real. So to see it happen, you know, we encourage them. We have a great team who works with them. To see it blossom on stage is a treat every night, every single night.
Well, you're certainly busy with this here in Baltimore and beyond. You just have been touring with Adam Lambert with Queen.
Well, not exactly touring. We did iHeartRadio with him, yeah, which was great. You know, and everybody says we should tour now, which is maybe a good idea.
Possibility?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I don't want to do is press that button and be touring for 9 months of the year again, because we did that for so many years, you know, and you know, I don't need to be doing that anymore. But I would, you know, I think we all think it's a possibility that we could do a few shows, you know, cherry pick them. And
you have a book coming out later this month.
I have a book which is almost out. It's out for Halloween, fittingly, because it's called Diablerie, which means it's about devils. It's a book which channels some incredible magical things that happened in France in the 1860s. Nobody has seen this stuff in the 21st century. It's stereoscopic cards which tell stories about what happens to our souls when we get to hell, assuming that we get to hell, because most of us probably will. And they're beautifully, I mean, they're incredibly sculpted in tabletop dioramas by these amazing sculptors. They were photographed in 3D and then produced as stereo cards, which were viewed in a 3D viewer.
When you think of the 1860s, you think it's sort of the infancy of photography is still at that point, but this is really technologically advanced stuff.
It really is. Well, that's the funny thing, you know. You realise after a while that the Victorians did everything. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. Yes, I mean, photography was invented in the 1840s. It blossomed in the 1850s. And stereoscopy was in there from the very beginning. In fact, the principle of 3D was discovered just a little bit before photography by Charles Wheatstone. So by the time you get to the 1860s in France, it's a given. Everybody has a stereoscope. Everybody wants 3D images because that's the way they view the world. And you see these incredible, solid, lifelike images, and you feel you could walk through a window and touch them and talk to them. So that's what you're getting here. And it's always been a fascination for me. And there's nothing like real Victorian stereoscopy. We've all seen Avatar, and it's wonderful. I'm a big fan of James Cameron. But even he would tell you that Victorian photography, technically, is the most perfect kind of 3D. And that's what you get in this book. You have a viewer invented by myself, called an owl, and it's manufactured in analog technology in Britain. And you have every Diablerie that was ever made in France, except two. Two we couldn't find.
Well, obviously there's a lot of research, and it's a beautiful book, and it's presented beautifully as well. So I think it's going to be quite the seller.
People go wow a lot. I was glad to see you went wow when you first saw it. We like the wow.
Yeah.
Because it is, you don't expect that, do you, when you look at the book? I mean, you get a hint on the front because there's a lenticular stereoscopic print on the front, you know, so you get a hint that there's going to be 3D inside. But I think what you get from this is beyond your expectations.
It is. Real quick, we're wrapping up, but I ask this of everyone I meet, regardless of their status. But looking back on your life, and especially your career, What's the standout? What are some of the standout moments?
I've been incredibly lucky. I would have to say playing on top of the palace, Buckingham Palace in Britain, and doing God Save the Queen, and
What do you remember feeling at that moment?
fear. Total fear. It was a complete life-changing experience because you have to learn to face fear, not because you would fall off the roof, but because 1 billion people are watching you and it's live and dangerous, and you could end up for the rest of your life being the guy who screwed it up at top of Buckingham Palace. So it was enormous fear, but enormous adrenaline. It's like when you're at the top of the roller coaster, and it's that feeling multiplied by 100. Incredible.
Brian May, pleasure. The kickoff of the U.S. tour, We Will Rock You. Looking forward to it. Thanks for your involvement. I hope you
Thank you.
love Baltimore as much as we do.
Definitely. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers.